Well, good evening, members and officers. Welcome to tonight's meeting of Scrutiny Committee, Place and Environment. And particularly welcome to our Cabinet members, well, Leader of the Council, Councillor Eggleston and Councillor Gibson. Agenda item 1, to note substitutes in accordance with Committee Procedure Rule 4. I have no notification of any substitutes. Item 2, to receive apologies for absence. We have no apologies. Item 3, to receive declarations of interest from members in respect of any matter on the agenda. I see no declarations of interest. Item 4, to be agreed by general affirmation, the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 15th of January 2025. Could I ask members to say agreed if they're happy to agree the minutes of the meeting? Agreed. Those minutes are agreed. Item 5, to consider any items that the Chairman agrees to take as urgent business. There are none. So, cantering through to item number 6, Sustainable Economic Strategy and Action Plan Refresh. I know many of the members here will be very familiar with the original plan for 2022 to 2025 and have worked extensively on the refresh for 2025 to 2028. I look forward to your comments. How I think we will do it is we will look through that. We will take comments on the report itself in the first instance, and then we will take comments on the strategy and action plan itself in the second instance before we go to recommendations. But before we do that, I'm going to invite Judy Holmes to introduce the report, and Judy will be supported by Anne Biggs and by Laura Southam as necessary during the opening comments and then during the debate and discussion. Over to you, Judy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think it's quite self-explanatory. The purpose of the report is to ask the committee to consider the refreshed sustainable economy strategy for 2025-2028. The report reminds the committee that it was at its meeting on the 18th of September that this committee agreed to set up a cross-party member working group comprises of members from this committee. The committee also agreed the terms of reference for that working group, which was to focus on the refresh of the objectives in the action plan. The group met 4 times and was chaired by Councillor Hitchcock and supported by Councillors Avery, Burgreen, Edwards, Rees and Zeidler. To support the working group, we commissioned an update of the district profile, which those of you who recall the previous strategy will remember that it was a key evidence base to support our objectives and actions. You may also recall that one of the key actions in the previous strategy was that we would commission work to develop a net zero programme, which would help us deliver the Council's targets, the net zero targets. You'll see those evidence bases can be found and referenced in the strategy at pages 21 to 23. Both of these were used to support the refresh, and the member working group considered them very carefully. The main body of the actual strategy hasn't changed significantly, other than a few updates, some updates to take account of legislative changes and new strategies. As a result of the direction from the working group, who were keen to ensure the strategy clearly referenced supporting and contributing strategies, we've included a new diagram in the strategy at page 20. The key focus of the working group was ensuring that the strategy included a transparent, deliverable and accessible action plan, and a lot of time was spent on devising that, supported by clear objectives. These are clearly set out in the strategy at pages 29 to 32. Then finally, the working group were very keen to ensure that we had a clear way of monitoring, a transparent and clear way of monitoring delivery of the strategy that provided real-time information. And again, this is set out under the monitoring section in the report. Finally, obviously what you've got in front of you is a Word version. Subject to approval by Council on the 26th of March, the final glossy version, similar to the one that currently exists on the website, will be published on the Council's website. And you'll see in the Word version that there are some case studies which will be, we'll use photographs and it will look more accessible and more glossy when we come to the final version. But clearly that will be subject to council approval and subject to discussion today at this meeting. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Judy. Does anyone have, as I said, appreciating the amount of work and input people have already put into this strategy, and thank you very much to all members of the working group. Does anyone have any comments on the report itself before we move on to comment on the economy strategy and action plan? Councillor Henwood.
I don't know if this is the point to bring it up, Chairman, but I have several questions. Okay?
Are they, if they're relating to the action plan?
Well,
I haven't got any other hands up, so why don't we launch into the wider discussion?
Okay, I beg your pardon for
That's
interrupting.
Go for it.
First of all, there's reference to United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 3, which says good health and well-being. All right? The evidence given by Mid-Sussex strategy was increase in population, substantial, increase in elderly, increase in life expectancy, and mental health issues, which that is not recorded within the complaint. So I have two questions. First of all, why does Mid-Sussex District Council have no partnerships with NHS providers, national health providers? Second is, how does this strategy support the health and well-being of residents? We've already said people choose to live and work and invest, but if this strategy has not addressed the health needs, the health deficits which exist in Mid-Sussex District Council, then it is actually too weak. It's a very important issue. That's the first question, and then I want to come back if I can, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, should we deal with that question first, if that's all right? I mean, I'm conscious, obviously, we have our wellbeing team within Mid-Sussex as well, and I know we do work through our partnerships with the sort of local health providers. But Judy, could I come to you in the first instance? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that the health and wellbeing team might be quite disappointed to hear that you feel we don't have any partnerships with the NHS providers. The whole thrust of the health and wellbeing team's purpose is to work with NHS providers to improve the health and wellbeing of the residents of the district. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I think you make a really good point, and it's something that the working group grappled with, actually, which was this strategy is an overarching strategy that seeks to bring together the strands and the work of lots and lots of different strategies, because it cannot replicate those strategies. There would be no point in having other strategies if we did that. So what we have tried to do is show you the links between the other strategies, and that's the diagram that I referenced in my introduction. And what we've done is we've used the evidence base to pick out the key actions that relate to the sustainable economy of this district. And you'll see that objective 2 speaks specifically to the point that you make on page 29. But you could argue that many of the other objectives also contribute towards delivering the objective of improving the health and well-being of the district, whilst obviously the health and well-being strategy specifically seeks to do that job, and that's referenced in page 20.
Thank you for that, Judy. I can see, as you say, in objective 2, actions 5, in particular number 5, addresses the well-being issue. Councillor Henwood, do you want to either come back on that or ask the next 2 questions that you have?
Well, I was interested in the report when it lists the partnerships that the Sustainable Economic Group have. I might have missed it, but I didn't think on that list of partnerships there was any reference to any...
So I can see on page 20 that it says West Sussex Health and Wellbeing Strategy is referenced on the bottom left as one of the regional, where we deliver regionally.
Okay. Sorry, Chairman. I appreciate.
No, but it's an important point to make, and I
Yeah,
think.
I appreciate the health and well-being team, but I was particularly disappointed that within the sustainable economic strategy, the point of health issues, mental health, et cetera, was not stressed, was not expressed profoundly, and because it's a really important issue.
Thank you. I'll let Judy come back on that.
I don't think anyone would deny that. I think I'll just say what I said again, which is that this strategy is an overarching strategy that does not replicate the content of other strategies. So the stress that you're looking for in terms of the specific actions relating to addressing those things would be found in the health and wellbeing strategy. So we've signposted those strategies, and we spent a lot of time ensuring that those strategies are actually referenced where they're relevant. So at the bottom of page 29, you'll see that we've specifically referenced the key strategies that that objective is seeking to support.
Okay. I mean, obviously, we'll be going to council, and you'll have the opportunity to make those comments again, regardless of how you feel it's addressed this evening. And I'm sure we can try and provide further details and information to you between that time. Do you want to ask your follow-up questions,
Well,
Councillor Hammond?
yeah, I don't know, it is very relevant to the health and well-being issue. Specifically Burgess Hill, I'm really concerned when they talk about community facilities and amenities, there is absolutely no reference to a medical center, which we were told would be forthcoming. So maybe it's just that simply their booklet is deficient. It's not, it's relevant to this sustainable committee, I feel like. So perhaps somebody could address that issue, who knows what's going on. This is their booklet.
I think Judy is going to take that as well, thank you.
So that booklet's been produced by Homes England. I can't speak for why they haven't specifically referenced the proposal for a new surgery, but members of this committee and members of this council are well aware of what's contained in the outline planning permission to support delivery of Brookley, and there is a medical centre listed in that, and I can't answer why they haven't included it in the booklet, but it doesn't mean that that surgery isn't coming forwards, and that Homes England aren't working with the ICB, who are responsible for providing GP facilities, isn't working together on that, because they are.
Okay, I feel reassured. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor. I might just ask Councillor Eggleston if he'd like to add anything. I think he would.
Thank you, Chairman, for allowing me to speak. I mean, I think the issue here is that this document is setting out the principles. It's not the application of those principles, because they are held in other documents. And as Judy Holmes says, you drive through this document, which is, you know, the high level, these are our values, down to the documents which deal much more with how do we actually deliver on the ground against this strategy. That be fair?
Thank you, Councillor Eggleston. Councillor Henwood, did you have a follow-up, or have you asked?
No, I think I have listened to comments, and although I find them a little bit deficient, I will have to rest my case.
Okay, well, thank you for those comments. Would any other councillor like to speak on the action plan, either providing sort of support for it? I know many of you have been involved, and it doesn't need to be a question, it could be just a comment or an observation. No? Oh, Councillor Zeidler.
Well, just given the opportunity, I would take that opportunity to say, as Judy said, there were 4 meetings. It was quite exhaustive. It was quite a specific change of focus that the group looked for, and I think that in the way that it was chaired and in the way that the officers responded to the challenges, I think the group was very well supported and very happy with the outcome.
Thank you for that, Councillor Zeidler, and I've already expressed thanks to everybody that took part, and particularly Councillor Hitchcock, I think, chaired that working group. So thank you to that and for the officers. So we have some recommendations in front of us. That and if the recommendations are passed, then it will go to council later in the month. So we are asked to, one, consider and comment on the draft Sustainable Economy Strategy and Action Plan as attached, and we have done that. And then secondly, we now recommend to council approval of the draft Sustainable Economy Strategy and Action Plan. Sorry, Councillor Gibson, Councillor Eggleston, did you want to add anything? I know you obviously all have the opportunity to raise it at council, but you've spoken already, but just in case you wanted to say anything that not as a member of the committee.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for letting me just add that. I mean, I would add my congratulations to the officers, and I think particularly the diagram is a very helpful representation of what the strategy is intending to achieve, and I would encourage all officers, all members of the council, as I did at the previous council meeting, in order to familiarise themselves with this and to understand how the actions fit within that, because I think that the graphical representation that we have here is very useful indeed, and I congratulate the officers for managing to pull so much into a single piece of paper.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Fine, we've got recommendation in front of us that I've read out. So now we vote on the recommendation to approve this draft strategy and action plan to take it to council. Please vote using that electronic device in front of you. I think that's unanimous. So thank you very much for everyone's comments throughout the process in respect to that. Item 7, Scrutiny Committee Place and Environment Work Programme for 24-25. This is a standing item on our agenda, which looks to see what is coming up through. I think you can see that two of the important work programme items that people will want to be commenting on later this year. We have green spaces at our next meeting of 2nd of April. And then I know we've had questions before on this group about the leisure strategy and leisure centres, etc., and that should be coming through this calendar year as well. Does anyone have any comments or questions in respect to the recommendations or the report itself? We are being asked to recommend the proposed work programme, to note the alternative approaches by which information can be considered for the work programme, and to note the process. And Councillor Henwood.
I just remember on a previous meeting we had, and we looked at the plans for playgrounds, etc. We didn't seem to have had a report previously, so I am anticipating when we discuss green spaces, there will be a nice comprehensive report for us to read before the meeting. Is that right, Chairman?
I'm just going to check whether it's green spaces or leisure strategy. I know green spaces was where we were going to sort of perhaps review how the contract with Glendale had panned out, but I realised I didn't actually ask an officer to address the report, so I think I'm going to ask Louise in the first instance, but I know supported by Simon Hughes is necessary. Thank you.
I think you covered everything I would say in your introduction, Chairman, so I'll hand over to Simon for the specific question.
Thank you.
Oh yes, Chairman. Green Spaces is about the Green Spaces contract, and that will have just completed its first year, so it's a review of its performance.
And in terms of play spaces or sort of future of playgrounds and things like that, that would be more for leisure strategy?
It would.
Thank you.
Beg your pardon, Chairman, but I found it difficult to actually hear Mr. Hughes. Would you repeat what he said? Or
It was saying the green spaces one would be more of a review of the Glendale contract.
that would be a review of the
leisure
Glendale contract.
strategy will be more of an opportunity to review the future of our sort of leisure centres, parks,
Playgrounds. And the playgrounds and the small little laps and things like that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's right. We have two exciting topics to look forward to. Has anyone got any other comments on the work programme? No? Well, can we go to the recommendations and vote on those, please? Great, thank you very much, everybody. Again, that's been approved unanimously. So we look forward to those meetings in due course. And I know I was saying then just that we had two exciting meetings, but I think they are, I'm sure we all a lot of our work is important, but green spaces, leisure centres, etc., are some of the most important parts where residents actually see our council in action, and so they are of, I think, particular importance. Item 8, questions pursuant to Council Procedure Rule 10.2, due notice of which have been given. I have none, so I'm pleased to close this meeting at 7:20. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.